Guys, what keeps you coming back for all these 10 at 10s? Is it the crazy conifers we're dropping right now? Or is it all these fun maples and that hope of spring? We got some really cool maples on the 10 at 10 for you today. We got a very special plant that kind of reminds me of a Shaquille O'Neal sneaker from the 90s. Stick around to find out which one. Konnichiwa, y'all, and welcome to that 10 at 10 video for February 8th of 2024. I'm Matt Nichols.
And I'm Tim Nichols. We're the brothers of MrMaple.com. It's a family mail order business. We ship directly to your door over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples, and we release 10 new trees at 10 a.m. on Tuesday and on Thursday. So check your weekly email, y'all. We're going to have more coming out. We got 20 trees listing today. We're going to talk about 10 on the table today.
All right, y'all, you see these bad boys in front of us. Let's get into these whipcords. Check these out. I love whipcord. This is one of my favorite conifers for its texture, and it just has a character that you know when you've seen a whipcord, you remember this one. You know what it is.
It looks like a crazy character out there in the garden, and that's what you want. Something that's starkly different, gives a unique texture, and this one has long, thread-like whipcords that just stick out on a western cedar. It's pretty awesome. It looks like a little creature out there. It's something that people are going to talk about in your garden.
These are super durable. They're a great plant. We have offered these on a standard. These are low, so you won't have to have these raised up at all. They kind of got that headbanger a little bit going on. Put this out next to some lace leaf Japanese maples. It's going to have that pendulous nature to it. Even though it kind of grows out and up, it has such a unique characteristic. It kind of looks weeping. I've seen this in a big planter, kind of just ordaining the whole top of that with that weeping nature to it, looking super cool, getting big and bushy, and just give me that animalistic, almost personality kind of characteristic that only whipcord can bring.
So guys, we have an open house coming up April 5th and April 6th. You're going to want to be there. April 5th is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's the Friday. And on the Saturday, April 6th, it's 8 a.m. to noon. Cool plants, cool people. You're going to want to be there. It's one of the most fun times of the season.
We're talking about potentially having a coffee bar. We're definitely going to have breakfast served that Friday and a food truck for lunch. So we've got some really great food provided by the Groovy Grease Wagon there on Friday. We may have a coffee bar. We'll see. There's a lot of fun things happening, guys. I think you're definitely going to want to be a part of that Spring Fling open house. It's the kickoff for the spring season here at Mr. Maple. We're going to have a lot in leaf, so it's going to be a really fun time to see it. These, hopefully, some of these will be around. You can always buy one of these and reserve it if you're waiting. We're bringing Dragon Master back.
Y'all, these are some fairly low grass. They're grafted right around 4.5 inches. They have this nice cascading form. In the springtime, Dragon Master leaves out as a bright orange, then goes to the yellow. And it gives you that graceful weeping habit that's heavily cascading with that yellow color.
I like to think of this one as the Orange Dream version of a pendulous Ryusen style plant. It kind of looks like Ryusen X Orange Dream. You get everything you love about Orange Dream. I do find Dragon Master to be more durable than that. So really a fun plant. Not too high grafts here. You can stake these up. If we actually stake these, they'd be huge plants. We like to let them develop a ton of characteristic here. So in the spring, you find the most pliable part here and just stake that up. It's going to continue to weep from that uppermost part. I tend to stake these around 5 to 6 feet and let them weep from there. If you don't, you're going to just have this low mounding area and kind of mound its way up. Excellent way to grow it either way. This one's going to bring that high intensity to that spring garden for sure. Great kind of orangey red fall color as well. Underrated for that. Dragon Master, for me, it's the very best yellow weeper.
And where these are grafted at, it's actually a good spot if you want to do a hanging basket. If you just want to let this cascade across the ground too and be almost like a ground cover, that's a pretty awesome way to grow Dragon Master as well. It's a fun tree you can play with. It's an introduction from our Pendulous Treasures collection here at Mr. Maple. And it's one of those trees that just adds that extra spark of color.
You know, those Mr. Maple guys are pretty good at introducing trees. You know who else is pretty good? Talon Buckholz. Let's get into a Buckholz introduction. Guys, these are beastly. You guys love when we bring back the New Ghost. This is one of the most popular New Ghosts. We got Frosted Purple for you back on the 10 at 10.
When Talon Buckholz sent us a box, he sent us a Frosted Purple that wasn't this big in a 2-gallon. And I was like, oh my goodness, this thing's amazing. It has a frosted-like purple appearance across this tree. It's basically like an Olson's Frosted Strawberry, more purple and more upright.
I love it. This one actually brings a ton of lavender to the table. And Frosted does kind of describe the creaminess it has to it. Probably one of the most popular New Ghosts. If I had to think of what, like, of the New Ghost, maybe Celebration beats it for popularity, but it's close. This one tends to sell out very quickly. It's definitely in the top 3. This one is phenomenal though. I love its growth rate. A lot of the new ghosts are actually from amber ghosts, giving them really good form. This one has a great form to it, and just a nice grower. It tends to put on over a foot of growth a year and really get up to a nice sized tree. Tends to be 10 to 12 foot and kind of more of a nice full canopy to it.
One of my favorite times for this is mid to late summer on Frosted Purple, when this tree gets some really nice green veining to it. And during that time of the season, it is outstanding. It's really starting to go to more of like a mauve kind of purple. And then that green veining is just electric across the variegation.
Grab a Frosted Purple on the 10 at 10 today. It's back.
Guys, another Talon Buckholz introduction. We've got Acer palmatum, Little Sango.
Yeah, you know it's little, and it's Sango, and it's awesome. So this is a compact form of Sango Kaku. It's a Witch's Broom Talon named off Sango Kaku. Nice compact density to it. I love that this one tends to be very multi-stemmed. Now because of that, you get a lot of that coral bark you like in a small, dense habit.
Now, good in zone 6 through 9, the coral bark Japanese maples are a spark of winter interest. The bark itself is highly intense and bright. I recommend giving these a backdrop, sometimes an evergreen backdrop or a different colored backdrop like a house will really be able to show off this bark color. If you plant this out in the landscape without a backdrop, it sometimes gets lost. So pro tip, give it a backdrop. But being a small dwarf selection, this is excellent in the container. It's an easy tree to grow, and it's a beautiful tree that gives you bright red bark during that winter months.
This one's a great candidate for the container garden. A lot of people want to put a coral bark in a big planter. Little Sango, because of that dense ball-like habit, looks great. Be advised that putting it in a container does take it down in one zone, so you may need to protect it even in zone 6 in a very cold winter. Excellent tree to be growing though. So beautiful, so great. The fall color, more of a golden yellow, very much mimics that of Sango Kaku, but an excellent dense overall ball shape. Typically more of a 4x5 or 5x5 ball, even in 10 years. Perfect dwarf coral bark. All right, guys, we got our open house and our Texas tours coming up. If you hadn't already, get excited. That Texas tour is going to be right after open house. We're going to be hitting up Stephen F. Austin University as well as the Dallas Arboretum. So those things are coming at you right here in April. It's not going to be far. We're excited to get some in-leaf content. If you want to come visit us on that Texas tour, be checking our Facebook group for times and meetup dates. Our Facebook group is MrMaple Friends. We're also going to be posting that on the website. We'll be delivering up to 10-gallon size plants down to you guys. So if you don't want to pay that shipping or you want something delivered that's too big to ship, we'll be bringing it down to you, Texas.
Hey, Matt, what was Talon Buckholz's very first introduction?
Well, I believe his very first introduction had hairs on it like a fairy, and that was Acer palmatum fairy hair.
Guys, we've got some fairy hairs in 2 gallons that came from the Buckholz farm. This is a plant that me and Matt really hadn't offered much on Mr. Maple until we bought the Buckholz farm. They can grow it really well out there. And this is a really unique tree with really thread-like foliage.
Yeah, stringy. You'll actually see some videos on our website where we talk about the very first 2 grafts. One's in the ground, one's in the container. You can still purchase that one in the container if you want from Buckholz Farm. It's 11 grand, by the way. But it is still for sale. We do have one more in the ground. An amazing plant. I absolutely love what fairy hair brings to the table. Beautiful pink reds in the fall, that lime green in the summer. And there's just nothing quite like fairy hair. It's so skinny, it's so interesting on the foliage. Fairy hair is actually a reoccurring seedling. We were talking to some plant breeders that find that a certain percentage of Scolia penduliflorum come back like this. A very interesting find, and a certain amount of the genetics always tend to come back like fairy hair.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because as soon as you see that, they're really small and you have to graft them at an early stage to get them onto a vigorous root system so they can survive and make a good tree out in the landscape. When we graft a tree, we're adding vigor, we're adding a lot of awesomeness and healthiness to that tree. And fairy hair is a plant that's really cool, really different. Make sure you give it plenty of good drainage. That's one of the things I've seen is critical with fairy hair.
Perfect plant for the fairy garden. You can throw some hair in there with a fairy hair. One of my all-time favorite Fagus sylvaticas, guys, we're bringing back Marmor Star. This is a dope variegated beech. You're going to love this plant. The coloration on this is just out of this world.
Now, when it first leaves out in the springtime, you may get some amazing variegation, but typically it's that second summer flush where you get the best variegation on Marmor Star. There are some seasons where you may get a solid green leaf out when it first leaves out, and that secondary flush, that's when you really start getting the white and green spotting all across the foliage.
This is a European beech that brings it. It's high intensity. I love what it does. I've been surprised, this one works up to zone 8, but I've been surprised how sun tolerant it is for me. Getting a little bit more sun almost tends to pick up some of that spring color. It is an incredible plant though, and it is like one of those photographer's dreams. When this thing has that bright white across that lime green to that evergreen color it kind of puts on, it is outstanding.
Now, European beech, again, make sure you give them good drainage. It's critical for European beech, but an amazing tree to use out in the landscape and garden. I don't think people use enough of the European beech in the landscape. There are a lot of amazing selections, and I love offering them here on Mr. Maple.
Marmor Star tends to sell out. Get them while they're hot here today, guys. This one is very popular.
More Marmor Star for your garden.
More Marmor Star. More Star. All right, guys, we got Kamagata.
A selection by J.D. Vertrees himself, the guy who wrote the book on Japanese maples. Little known fact, Talon Buchholz bought his farm, where his farm's at, from J.D. Vertrees' family. Kamagata, this is a dense dwarf selection. Great for bonsai, super heat tolerant, and it's got a cool claw-like leaf.
Now, when Kamagata first leaves out in the early spring, it does have a little of that purple border, little reminiscent of something like Murasaki Kiyohime on that more jagged style leaf. So you get a little bit of a purple border going on. This one is more upright, and it gives you a little bit more ovate of a shape. This one, Vertrees recommends for rock gardens because it's durable, it's tough as nails. Again, if it's tough as nails, it's going to work great for bonsai, so it's another great one for the patio planter. It's a tough plant, but it's one you can put up next to a home, next to a brick house, not worry about the heat. Up to zone 8, it's going to work great there. Now, you want to give it some late day shade in zone 9, typically on the East Coast. It's going to work zones 5 through 9, and it is durable as they come for a Japanese maple, especially for good heat conditions.
I mean, we've got this as a southwest exposure at Maplewood Gardens on a brick facing wall on southwest exposure. Sun radiates off that. Many plants struggled in that situation. We planted Kamagata there. It's thrived and done amazing. It's a tree that's easy to grow, really special. And the name Kama is kind of like the sickles they used to cut grass with, and Gata means shape. So the leaf is almost like the shape of one of those sickles. Really cool plant, awesome tree. Listen today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Kamagata is awesome. That one we have in the Mr. Maple Gardens, it gets punched fully in the face by the sun, that full summer exposure, and it eats it right up, y'all. All right, y'all, next up on the table, we've got a great red upright. We're bringing out Acer palmatum Karibo.
Now, this is a tree that gives you a brick red color with lime green, yellow green veins in the actual leaf itself. I mean, the contrast there is outrageous.
You know, that has a lot of contrast, but I love the bark interest this one has. It actually has kind of more of a lime green to almost yellowish spring bark to it. I love that when compared to the leaf. The two contrast together and make for an amazing combo. We have one of these planted right next to the koi pond there in Maplewood Gardens at my parents' place. I absolutely love the contrast this tree provides, even within its own self, from the bark to the foliage. Outstanding older Japanese maple to be growing in the garden.
Now, this tree goes from yellows to oranges in the fall, so I mean, it is a rock star and is very different than your typical red upright each and every season. It can go out there, stand alone as a unique piece, but can also contrast with many of your other Japanese maples because it is so different.
That lighter green bark really provides something. I think especially in that spring garden, you know, we had one out there that was 6 to 7 foot, and when you see that bark against the foliage, it just gives it something extra. All right, guys, we keep bringing the conifers. I know this is one of Corbin's favorites in that Buchholz garden. We got Ogan Janome.
Ogan Janome is a Pinus parviflora, a Japanese white pine with yellow variegation in the foliage itself. It's one of the most striking Pinus parviflora selections because it has such a fun shape being a Japanese white pine, but is variegated on top of that.
Pinus parviflora, they are amazing plants. Ogan Janome may be my favorite of those. It's up there. There is a massive one at the Buchholz garden. We did a walkthrough. You'll have to go check that out. I believe it's in part 2 of the Buchholz walkthrough. We walked up to this thing and Corbin he about had a conniption. Like, Corbin's holding his chest over there looking at this plant. Like, I want to do a million videos just on this plant. What is this? It's kind of a bonsai dream here. You know, Japanese white pines are already popular for that shape they make, that density you can get to on these. Absolutely adore this conifer. That yellow growth on top of that variegation gives it a picked up look. And guys, we're bringing this to you in some nice sized 2 gallons. These are well-developed 2s, straight out of our Buchholz farm. These were produced from some of the best sawn wood you can possibly find on this, making them exquisitely variegated.
Pinus parvifloras are amazing. They contrast and go so well with Japanese maples, bringing that essence of Japan to your garden. And this one does it with that extra flair. I mean, it's everything you love about Japanese gardening. and then a little show area on top of that. So perfect tree to add to your garden.
You will need to give Ogan Janome a little more shade in some of the high heat zones, but this is an excellent Japanese white pine. Absolutely love this one. We keep bringing the twos. Let's bring back Kumo Nishi.
Guys, we've got some Kumo Nishis from the Buchholz farm as well. Some good sized 2 gallons. Kumo Nishi is one of the most variegated full moon Japanese maples, being an Acer subultianum, and it has white and creamy green and creamy white variegation on the green foliage. A rounded leaf. It's a rock star.
This one, the variegation is special. It really is unique. I love that swirling. I mean, this one reminds me of those Shaq kamikaze shoes. You remember that was a Sean Kemp kamikaze? The Shaqnosis. Remember the Shaqnosis? It's got that swirling craziness. I love it. It's funky. It is. I'm a shoe guy. Okay, it's a crazy one, but I absolutely love the color on this tree. It is outstanding. I know we once went to a nursery in Japan and we were talking high-end, crazy cool plants. When they go, let me show you our wildest thing, and they brought out Kumo Nishi, and we're like, yeah, we know this one. We've got this one. It is phenomenal, and we understand why you brought this one out. It is very choice.
I love it just because it really is a unique tree. There are so many other subultianum selections, and so many Shirasolanums and Japonicums, but there's nothing quite variegated on a full moon style leaf like Kumo Nishi. It has a really nice upright shape to it. In the fall, when this tree goes yellows and oranges and pinks all at the same time, it can just be insane on the colors, sometimes pinks and reds. I mean, this is an amazing tree. You're gonna love photographing each and every day. Many of our trees will sell out today really quickly. Make sure you check out fast. Our website doesn't hold it for you till you complete that checkout process.
Cue a picture here of Shaq in the Shaqnosis. Tell me that don't remind you of that variegation.
So y'all, that was our 10 trees today for today's 10 at 10. 10 more are getting listed with those. So check out that email that you can sign up for on MrMaple.com.
Guys, if you love maple related content, support us here on the Mr. Maple Show. Shopping with us is the very best way to do that. We've got a whole team here putting out maple related content 7 days a week on the Mr. Maple Show, as well as that podcast. Go find somewhere to give us 5 stars. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Take care.
God bless you.
And have an awesome day.